Okay, it's February 5th, which means a new week in our class. And one thing I wanted to mention too is that we're using the Wiki, the class Wiki, to talk about these technology exploration experiences that we have. And so notice that it's this week we go to this Tools for Student Writing and Concept Organization and find the class Wiki. One thing that I wanted to stress is if you have any tools that you use maybe or that you've heard about that you think should be on this wiki that aren't, please send those to me. You can just email them to me or send them to me through Remind, which is what we use to communicate in this class. And I'll add them to the wiki. This is one way that I use to keep up this wiki, keep it current, because sometimes some of the tools might go into being old. Maybe the websites are turned off after a while, and there may be some on the wiki that are that way. That information about that helps me as well. But especially if you have new tools that you've used or heard about and think that should be included on the wiki, I like to try to keep it updated. So if you have any, let me know. All right, so this week is on active learning and writing with technologies. And so that's what we're talking about. But I wanted to highlight an assignment due next week. It's the Authentic Learning Project. And just to introduce this assignment so that you have an idea that what need to be working toward for next week. So for this project, you are going to choose an existing lesson plan that you have created and or taught to your students and that you feel is not yet very authentic. And your job is to add a technology element to this lesson and also make the lesson authentic. And hopefully the technology explorations that you've been doing help you to get into this idea of what tool might I use for this lesson to make it more authentic, and what technology might I use. It could also be something that's not on the wiki, that's okay too, but it needs to help make the lesson authentic. And that means the learners must be involved in activities similar to what professionals might do, and learners must see how what they learn is used outside of school. Authentic learning is usually more realistic for older students than for younger students. That's just a function of where students are in the world, although you can do some pretty authentic learning on younger levels as well. So 2 items should be submitted as part of this assignment. Number 1, the original Unchanged lesson plan. So that's the lesson plan that you would have taught previous to doing anything like this. When you think about choosing an original lesson plan for this, you want to choose one that hasn't gone that well with your class in the past. You want to choose one that maybe could be improved a lot as you think about improving things. So make sure you do that. Make sure you think about choosing one that maybe isn't going so well for your class and you want to improve it. And then the updated lesson plan. Now going back to the original lesson plan again, this could just be, it doesn't have to be a full university level lesson plan for the original one. It might just be a paragraph explaining what you normally would do. Or maybe it's something from your plan book if you have a plan book and just shares that we're going over chapters 33 and 34 today. And maybe give me a little more explanation about what those sections or chapters are about. But yeah, it can just be a paragraph or two about what you would normally do in your class. And then the updated lesson plan that now includes a technology element and makes the lesson more authentic would be included as well. And that should include all of these things. This is more like your university level lesson plan. A lesson title and summary, content standards and objectives, description of learners including grade and subject, list of materials and technologies used by teacher and students, list of learning activities that would be completed during the lesson with a detailed description of each activity. And of course that's the timeline or the procedures that are going to happen, and this should be aligned with objectives. A description of the technology element that is added to the lesson and how this technology supports the authentic learning in the lesson. So again, this is an additional item. You wouldn't put this in a normal lesson plan, but it is required for this assignment. You're going to describe the technology element and how it supports authentic learning. And then finally, an assessment plan that shows how you would measure student learning. This should be aligned with the objectives as well. And there's a rubric there for how you'll be graded on each of the different items in the authentic learning project. So that will be due at the end of next week. So as we get ready this week, we're going to be preparing for that a little bit by talking about active learning and writing with technologies. Next week we'll talk about communicating with technologies, and hopefully you'll be preparing for that lesson plan. So this week you'll have a presentation on writing activities. You'll watch a tech talk provided to us as well. This one's about Edmodo, and it's from Sasha, which is nice. And there's also a recipe there to look at as well, so you can view those. You can also view all of those under January 8th in our content area with the Tech Talk sign-up sheet. I'm adding all those elements in each week as we get those in too. And then, like last week, you'll do a technology exploration, but this time it's from the Tools for Student Writing and Concept Organization. And again, I want you to think about stretching yourself a little bit. If it's something that you already know, maybe don't spend time on that, but it takes some time learning another tool that you may not have heard of or might be interested in, may have heard of, but haven't had much experience in. You want to see what you can create with it. It's my creation. All right, so that's actually coming from the song Weird Science from back in the 80s, so it's my creation. Anyway, go ahead and post on there what you've created and share a little bit about it. And it could be that you explored something that's great for your class and you want to use it, and that's wonderful. Or maybe it's something that you don't want to use. It wouldn't work out too well, and that's okay too. We learn by exploring and by learning and trying to get into something and make something out of some tool that we have available to us. So that's what you can do. Those are the activities for this class and for this week, so good luck on those, and hopefully you'll do very well.